The best part about reading is time travel. And not just back in time or in the future, but it's going to a place or looking at a place that is physically impossible to go back to, or a culture that is extinct now. And you only get one shot at looking at it, and that is through books. Which is why I always encourage more and more people to read more, because you get to see these multitudes of cultures and places and things which you wouldn't have otherwise, and it shapes your perspective. The one such culture that today I want to talk about is the culture of geishas, and we have to go back all the way to Japan to read about this. And the book that I'm talking about today is Memoirs of a Geisha. It's written by Arthur Golden, and this book takes us on a journey of a girl called Chio, who is 9 years old, and she is on the way to become one of the prominent geishas of Japan. And we see this country through her eyes of how everything unfolds from early 1900s to the post Second World War. And that to me is one of the most interesting aspects of this book. It's not the love story, it's not the difficulties or the obstructions in her becoming a geisha, or how soap opera like her life is in the ukiyas of Kyoto, but it's the little everyday things of this country of Japan during the time of Second World War that I'm more interested in. I got more intrigued by the time period of Second World War in Japan by the podcast Supernova in the East, and it was by Carlin. And he would keep on saying that Japanese are just like us, but only more so. And I used to wonder what that statement, meant or signified. And after reading this book, after listening to stories about Japanese people during the Second World War, I came to realize how true to the spirit that statement is. Because Japanese people, they take perfection to a whole new level. For them, work ethics and orders, they mean they have to follow them to every last bit. And we see it in various military examples as well as business examples. But I don't want to get into that. What I want to talk about right now is how during the Second World War, how after the Second World War, the country that was never taught to surrender, that was never taught to bow down in the face of hardships, it eventually collapses and then rises again to be the Japan that it is today, and how the everyday life was affected during that impossible period of Second World War. So this is a work of fiction, and I know I have no right to comment about a country by reading a work of fiction or how surface level it looks, but it introduced me to this country, and I really am happy that I started knowing about Japan through a work of fiction. So to me, it introduced a new culture, and for that purpose, I would recommend it to anyone who wants to know more about Japan.